Hi everyone, I am reading Legends, Kermode, Legends Series Book 2 by Maggie Adams, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue. In this world of peace and calm, soon there comes a burning balm. Spread like wildfire through the masses, seek true power as it passes. Find the only power pure, through life and death it can endure. Find the one who owns this trait, and bring it to me as I wait. Sabine Blackshire calmly chanted the spell as she added the last drop of dragon's blood to her vessel. The rumbling within the bowl ceased. A silver mist rose from the vapors and spread across the room, then passed through the open window. That should do it, she smiled softly. Now, dear Jonas, let us see how powerful you are against whatever comes. She chuckled, eyeing the small statue of a wolf with bloody fangs. Such a pity my flesh and blood can't see the true power that we can produce to rule. She smiled at the sorceress figure in bronze sitting next to the wolf. Perhaps once your brother is bested, dear Zoe, you will come to finally see that Mama knows best. And if not, then you too, I'm afraid, will meet the same fate as your dear brother. After all, I can't rule the world if my own children won't obey me. Now can I? With a flick of her hand, the implements of her spell were put away, and a solid wall was formed, hiding her laboratory. A shadowy phantasm rose from the corner. Winston, don't forget to turn out the lights, she sang out as she exited the room, humming that old black magic. Chapter 1. Noah Stark stormed into Jonas Blackshire's office. Jonas! Jonas! Where the hell are you? We've got trouble brewing. All the signs are pointing to it. Noah was every bit of 6'6", a large bear of a man, which was good considering that was his shifter animal. He was also a computer genius who worked exclusively for Jonas. Jonas looked up from the papers he was reading as Noah barged in. He was used to Noah's dramatic declarations. They came on an almost weekly basis. What seems to be the problem, Noah? I've got work to do. Noah plopped down in one of the large, overstuffed chairs opposite Jonah's massive mahogany desk. Well, I've been doing some calculations, and it seems like, well, you know how I get, Jonas. I could feel it. I could smell it. So I did some investigating. There's danger here, and it's powerful, Jonas. It's powerful, so why the hell haven't you told any of us about it? He growled. Jonas laid back in his leather chair, taking stock of the man before him. He could tell something was rattling him and that he believed exactly what he said. And given his animalistic instincts, it appeared Noah wasn't just going off on one of his many computer-related conspiracy theories that had gotten him a polite discharge from the army years ago. Tell me what you know, Noah. Noah stood up, knocking over the chair before riding it, and began to pace. I don't know. I just feel there's power. There's a change. There's a shift. All the signs are pointing to it, and I don't mean them crazy signs like your sister Zoe gets into with her voodoo. I mean factual theories, logical basis of fact. This power, this force that's coming to us is unlike anything you've ever felt before. Is that what you're telling me? Noah spun around, planting both beefy hands on Jonah's desk. Yes, damn it, that's exactly what I'm telling you, and it isn't coming, it's here, so why the hell didn't I know about it? Don't you trust me? At that moment, Zoe Kincaid barged into the office, not bothering to knock, her bangled bracelets clinking together as she entered. Noah stared in fascination at her. Since yesterday's bald and tattooed head was now copper red, long and curly. He wondered if it was her witchcraft or a wig. Jonas, why didn't you tell me we've got trouble? She exclaimed. That's what I was telling him. Noah waved a hand, pointing to Jonas. Zoe nodded frantically. He's absolutely right. There's something in the wind. When I did my numbers, when I did the runes, I looked at the tarot to make sure. It all points to immense power, immense danger, immense evil. Jonas sat up, placing his hands calmly on the desk and looking at the pair. Do either of you have any idea who this power is for? You know Mother is still around. Zoe flopped down into the chair that Noah had just sprouted. She heaved a heavy sigh and looked away. I know, but it's not her. It's even more powerful than her. She turned worried eyes. Noah, I'm right, aren't I? Yeah. He rubbed his hands down his jean-clad overalls in an anxious gesture. And he didn't see fit to tell us. They both looked at Jonas. As leader of the Wisdom Council in the Midwest region, he was responsible for the welfare and safety not only of the shifters in his immense area, but also the humans. If it wasn't his mother, the sorceress, Sabine, then who or what was it? Jonas was rubbing the bridge of his nose between his fingers, a sure sign of his agitation. I believe you, but I can't feel it, he admitted quietly. Zoe and Noah looked at each other in shock. There were only two reasons why Jonas could not pick up on the power as leader of the Wisdom Council. Either this power was able to mask itself from Jonas, but if that was the case, why let everyone else know? Or Jonas was about to be replaced, which meant he would die. No, Zoe and Noah said together. Jonas opened his eyes, trying to reassure them. Well, no matter what it or he or she is, we will find out soon enough. You say it is already here, so there must be a reason. We shall simply find the reason. Now, first things first. Zoe, pull together all your contacts from your covens. Let's see what they can find out about the power. He glanced at Noah. You know Jax and the other shifters within the security committee. Follow the proper protocol for an impending threat and look out for potential danger and power surges within our area. And you, Jonas? Zoe asked softly. What are you going to do? Noah glanced at Zoe in sympathy. Jonas was all that she had. Their mother didn't count. She was an evil sorceress, and the two had barely escaped her clutches without being destined to do her bidding. Don't worry, Zoe. I'm going to do what I do best, research. He smiled softly, trying to exude the confidence that she desperately needed to see in him. Come on, Zoe. You and I got some preparation to do. You know how Jonas can handle whatever comes along, but he's going to need our help, so let's get cracking. Jonas lifted his hand in farewell, but before Noah closed the door, he peeked in to see Jonas with a fierce frown upon his face. The news they had just imparted came as a heavy load to Jonas. As much as Jonas was determined to save his tribe, Noah was determined to do whatever he could for his leader, and more importantly for the man he thought of as a brother. And if Sabine was behind it, Noah would kill her himself. Chapter 2. Piper Sweet could feel the wetness of the leaves, the mud making soft squishing sounds beneath her as she ran in the woods near her home in Grafton. The cool mist of early morning dew fell on her face. The hunter's moon still shone brightly, the clouds obliterating all but a few stars in the sky. This was her time to relax, be at peace with the war within her soul. She glanced at the sky once more, realizing that dawn would soon be upon her. She needed to turn around, head back, but she continued to run for a few more minutes. The nearest hint of light pierced through the darkness near the horizon, and she knew she could go no further. Stopping for a moment, she glanced around, taking a deep breath of cool morning air. She loved these woods, the animals within, and the people without. She laughed aloud, thinking of Snow White and how her woodland friends had helped her. The animals here gave her the peace and solitude she craved as they went about their business, barely acknowledging her presence. A sudden crackling behind her made her whirl around, but she could perceive nothing in the darkness. A rustling in the bush had her jumping. Why was she suddenly afraid? The animals meant her no harm. She knew her instincts were never wrong, though, and she backed slowly away, keeping an eye on where she had heard the sound. Another cracking of twigs to her left, and she swiftly spun around, but could discern nothing beyond the shadows of the trees. Her mind screamed, "Run!" and she did, as fast as she could, now hearing another set of steps almost directly behind her. She prayed her speed would save her as she headed back toward the safety of the town. It seemed as though the crunching of leaves was directly behind her, but no one touched her, the padding of the steps almost keeping rhythm with her. Whoever or whatever it was could be upon her at any moment. She wasn't sure that she could make it, but up ahead the welcome sign of Grafton shone like a beacon in the early pre-dawn light, giving her the needed burst of speed to crash through the woods and onto the main street. Sam Coulson, her childhood friend and chief of police here, might not be on duty, but one of the officers would have the night shift. She ran up to the building. All the lights were out. She didn't dare take the time to bang on the door. It was almost upon her, and yet she could not see anything. The eerie fog blanketing the town hindered her sight. She sped down the street as sounds of panting came closer. She could feel the breath on her neck, and she started to scream, but nothing came out. She glanced up as the moon became shrouded in clouds. The streetlights winked out and a terrifying darkness descended. She couldn't see anything in the fog, relying on her instincts to get her home. She sprinted faster, heading for the safety and sanctuary of her grandparents' bake shop and home. She grabbed the door handle, punched in the security code, and left let herself in, slamming the door and immediately activating the alarm. It didn't matter. She watched in growing horror as the shadowy fog came under the door and it coalesced into a giant grizzly bear. Piper couldn't look away as the gnashing teeth came closer, a mighty paw swiping out toward her. She felt the wind across her face as the bear missed. She fell against the back stairs leading up to her apartment. The bear stood up on its hind legs and let out a mighty roar. She scrambled around and ran as quickly as she could up the stairs, slamming the door in her bedroom, although she knew it would do little good against the creature. She spied her cell phone on the nightstand. She made to grab it, but her hands were now paws. Nothing but white paws. She tried again. Then she screamed as the bear tore the door off its hinges. He flung her onto the bed, looming over her. He leaned in close, so she turned away, closing her eyes, knowing this was the end. She felt his breath on her neck, and her terrified mind registered the soft nuzzle of his nose against her skin. It sent chills down her spine, or was it shivers? She couldn't tell. Piper felt the heavy weight of him come down upon her. The paws closed in around her, but no, not paws. Hands. Big hands, and no fur on the body except soft chest hair upon her breast. She was naked, completely aroused. What was happening to her? She opened her eyes and stared into the deep, dark pools of her lover, her soulmate, a man built just for her and ready to fulfill every sexual need and desire she could think of. He leaned down and kissed her full lip, softly, so softly that she could barely feel it. His beard caressed her cheek, the weight of his body on top of hers pushing her into the mattress, his hardened cock rubbing against her thighs. She opened for him. He pulled her hair, lifting her face for his kiss, devouring her with his lips until she could barely breathe. When she gasped, the scorching lips rained down on her neck, across her collarbone, and between her breasts. She moaned in passion, pulling at his hair, wanting him closer, needing him to touch her there. And then he was, those fingers probing her slick folds as his moist mouth tugged on her hard nipples. She whimpered as he moved in his hips, gyrating slightly, and she felt his need probing her entrance. She tilted her hips, craving their union as she panted, "Please, yes," looking into his eyes as he braced himself above her. She knew she had found her mate. "You are mine," he growled, his eyes and face transforming slightly, frightening her. She winced as pain pierced her hip bones. She glanced down. His hands had become claws once again. He growled and shifted his weight. Her eyes flew to his face, now more bear than man. His body as well. She screamed in terror as he opened his jaws to devour her. Bring! The alarm clock shrilled in Piper's ear. She came awake, panting and terrified. Just a dream, but she searched around frantically, looking for any signs of her trek in the woods or a lover's soft kiss. She peeled back the bed covers, searching her legs, her arms, but no scratches. She relaxed a bit and marched into the shower, hoping the warm water would wash away the rest of the dream. She leaned against the tiles in her bath, trying not to remember how vivid the scenes were in her brain. Don't be ridiculous, Piper. Man-bear shifter things? You read too many of those books about shapeshifters and vampires and werewolves. Oh my, she giggled, the warm water and early morning sunlight coming in through the window reassuring her that it was indeed simply a dream. Maybe I should start reading books on boring farming techniques. The new bookstore going in where Merry Widows had been was a nice addition to the town. It was sure to have a wider variety of subject matter besides a few westerns and some used romance novels that they sold at the book fairs and flea market in the area. She exited the shower, dried off, and headed back into her bedroom to dress for the day. It was time to start the donuts. She chuckled to herself as the old commercial that her grandpa had made years ago came back to her. She missed her grandparents dearly, but she knew they were still around, especially in the bakery. They had put every bit of their heart and soul into it, and Piper was going to make sure Sweetie Pie's Bakery and Cafe continued to be the wonderful hit that it was. Putting her nightmares behind her, she skipped down the stairs into the large kitchen area to begin the day. It was 5 a.m., and she was running a bit behind. The hum of the fluorescent lights overhead and the whirring of the dough machine were sounds familiar to her. She forgot all about bears and lovers as she prepared today's menu. Looking out the back door of the kitchen area, she noted the leaves beginning to change color along the bluffs. Halloween would soon be upon them, and she had yet to run up the hill to the Colson orchard and grab pumpkins and hay bales for her Halloween decorations. She made a mental note to do so after the lunch rush. She was just frosting the last of the maple bacon donuts that were her fall specialty when the outer doorbell rang for a delivery. Thanks.